Deb here, your spiritual cheerleader and mentor. Welcome to Greatest Jesus in Me YouTube channel. And please remember to subscribe. Well, friends, we have a special guest today, Mr. Win Stevens. Hello, Win.
Hey, how are you? So I don't know whether it's good morning or good night, wherever you are. Well, welcome. As she said, my name is Win Stevens. We have known each other for a minute now, so
Yes.
I'm so happy to be on this podcast on your YouTube channel, just trying to see if we can inspire the world because
Yes.
God is real.
Yes.
And Jesus has given me so much energy. The chill that's going through my body right now. Just saying that, just makes you ready to rock and roll.
Amen. Amen to that. And I know why you said podcast, because you have a podcast and we're going to be talking about that. We're going to really dive in deep to that later on in our conversation. As you said, we've known each other for a minute, but my audience, they need to know you also. So can you kind of give them a little background about yourself? Tell them about you.
So I was born in New Jersey, a town called Asbury Park, and I was born in Asbury Park, but I lived in Neptune most of my life. And just right on the shore. So if you know the shore, you know Bruce Springsteen, the boardwalks, the Jersey Shore. That's where I grew up for the first 18 years of my life. And then I went to college in West Virginia, where I got my undergraduate degree and my master's degree. That's where the love uh, really took hold to support people with disabilities. So I'm a coordinator of disability services here at Germantic Community Colleges, the local college in our area. And what I do is I support individuals with all types of disabilities. If you name it, I probably graduated somebody with that disability. Because when people come to me, I want them to leave with a degree or a certificate, no matter the disability. And so we do whatever we can to get students to the finish line, and that's just one of my many passions. Um, and I'm almost finished with my doctorate degree. I don't know if I'm going to
Great.
finish it, but I just have my dissertation to get through, and so hopefully by 2023, that's the goal, is to be done. The goal was 2020, but
Wonderful.
but COVID knocked me out for a long time.
Mm.
So it just took a hold of me and just let me. I just slept for that year. I feel like that year just disappeared. And my topic of my dissertation is women in power.
Oh,
And so
wow. I
um,
like that.
it's a really it's a focus that just popped into my head one night, and I can't wait to learn more about that topic too as well. My first topic was individuals on the autism spectrum,
Mhm.
and that speaks to me as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, congrats and almost completing your PhD. Wonderful, congrats on that. And I know you said a lot of stuff, but we're going to break down a little bit of it. At the beginning, I said you have a podcast, and one of the things that caught my attention, because I did listen to your podcast, was a story that you had about your friend Bob. And the reason
Right.
why I like you to talk about that specific story is because that is the story that I think made the difference in your life. That's where you knew what your calling was going to be and your passion. So, if you can talk a little bit about that specific story. I know one of the things that caught my attention in your podcast was that you were talking about this friend of yours. Y'all were maybe 10 or younger,
Uh-huh.
and he lived across from your house,
Hmm.
and you all went to different schools.
Right, right.
According to you, he went to the good school, you went to the bad school, and that's where that line crossed. And
Right on my street, right on Pine Street. If you
okay.
lived on the right side of Pine Street,
Mhm.
you went to the wrong school. If you lived on the left side, you went to the other school, which was so much better. Had better The teachers were better trained. They care more about the kids. So the school that my school served, it served the people who lived in the housing project.
Mhm.
So so one side of the school was all the I can't the different housing projects, and that's who my school served. So they were serving mostly free and reduced lunch. And the school that Bob went to, I can't even remember the name of it. It served the people who more they probably had maybe 10 kids who was on free and reduced lunch. And
Mm-hmm.
my whole school was basically on, but me and a couple other people were basically the only people who that had brown bags. Everybody else was getting the free lunch, and you see me and I think four of us come to school with our lunch bags because we wasn't getting any free lunch, and it was really weird. I lived in a single parent home,
And that's what
and
I was about to say. Your mom was a single mom.
right,
You had
right.
four of you guys, and you are
It
the
was
youngest.
four. Exactly. It was four of us. My mom worked all day and went to school all night, so she didn't even have a degree yet,
Mm-hmm.
and she still made too much money to for us to get free lunch. I don't know how much money she made, but she definitely didn't have a degree at that time. And I was like, how is this possible? She has four kids, and so I don't get it. And I made sure I took that paper home for her to fill out because I was tired of eating those bologna sandwiches, you know. So it was, but Bob, I
Yeah.
was a special soul. It was a special soul. The day I met Bob, it changed me. It changed me. It changed because that's when God came to me and was like, in his own way. Because some people say that God speaks to him, and what when he speaks to me, he speaks to me like, hey, I want to give you this feeling, and I want you to take a moment to think what this feeling is.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, you need to support and love people who are different.
Mm-hmm.
And and because sometimes there are people who don't see the value in somebody with a disability, and in the world we live in, and it's sad because if you can't physically see that somebody using a wheelchair, somebody using crutches, or
Right.
then you won't know.
Right.
That's not real. That's not real. And no, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so the story, if you so I'm gonna tell the stories in my podcast, but
Right.
I'll tell
It's
you a
in
little
the
bit of.
podcast, and I want to say this. I like the way how you narrate your stories because you're very descriptive to the point that I felt I was right there. I felt I was right there. You do a great job. But yes, please tell them about this story with you and Bob, that incident, where God spoke to you about
Right.
your calling.
And so I'm in the we're at the corner, and on the corner we had a corner store called 4J's. It's still there today.
Mm.
Um, it's been there 50 years on that corner. And so I'm at the back. That's where they had the video games back in the day, Pac-Man, Centipede, all the wonderful
Mm-hmm.
games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back there losing my mom's money. I took out of her pocket. she kept the quarters in the pocket because I knew where they were. And so I took a couple quarters, went down and play some Pac-Man. And once again, get to the third level, done. I'm done. So I walk out front, and Bob's out there with his bike, and I look at this bike. Now, to the average person, this bike probably looks like hot, you know what, right? But to me, to knowing what he had to do to put that bike together, it looked like the best thing on the planet. It was all mix parts from all different types of bikes. And I was like, hey, where did you get that? He's like, I made it. I was like, you made it. And I was enamored. And then he said, my name is Bob. And I was like, Bob to fix it. And everybody know Bob the Builder. I didn't want to say Bob the Builder, but I was like, Bob to fix it. And that name stuck, Bob to fix it. And so we just start talking about bikes. And I showed them my bike that I had. I don't know how I got this bike, but I had this really nice white bike that my mom got for me somehow. She always would come up with ways to get stuff, but she gave me this really nice bike, and he was like, that's a really nice bike. And it was all shiny. And down walks the neighborhood bully. Like everybody had bullies in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Down walk the bully down the street. Now my hair rose back, and I'm like, all right, Bob, we probably need to go. But Bob was so friendly. Bob said, hey, how you doing to the kid? And the kid was talking about how bad his bike is. In my head, I'm like, that bike is not bad at all. You just don't know what you're looking at. And then Bob started talking, and so Bob's face looked a little different. And so you can tell that one of his eyes was different than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked, before the kid walked up, I asked him, what's wrong with your face? Because you're a young kid, and not having any sense to be
Mm-hmm.
not say what's obvious. And he just told me flat out, I got a glass eye. Something happened when I was young, and boom, and now I have a glass eye. And I was like, whoa. And he's gonna do that trick where they pop it out. And I was like, don't do that, don't do that, don't scare me, don't do that. And so the other kid walked up and said the same thing I did. What's the matter with your face? This kid was not a nice kid. I
Mm.
don't know. His parents I mean, they really needed some Jesus in their family. And it was not even just him, it was his whole family.
Mm-hmm.
They just needed it. And so he didn't believe Bob. So he wanted to do his own silly test. And so he told Bob to cover up his good eye. Right. And Bob did it. And I was like, please don't, please don't. And he covered it up, and the kid punched him right in his face,
Wow.
right in his back, right in his glass eye. But he didn't break the eye, so which is really good. And Bob started crying, and everybody came out the store, and we start chasing the kid down the street. The kid was fast. He just took off towards his house. And he went to get pretty close to his house. We knew that there was more trouble and we didn't want that trouble. So
Right.
we just came on back. And we said that, they'll get theirs. We'll get theirs. And I came back. I'm like under 10, and I never really hugged anybody before, and
Right.
it just came out of nowhere. I just put my hands around them, and I hugged them up really tight as the tears came down his face, and then I start crying a little bit because at that moment, when I put my hands around them and hugged them, at that moment I just knew that I have to make sure that I'm here to protect him and anybody else who needs it, who needs that kind of
Mm-hmm.
love.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we were thicker than thieves from that. And Bob, and see, this our relationship was organic because we're not in school all day together.
Right.
We're not building that bond from being in classes, playing with pencils, throwing
Mm-hmm.
paper,
Mm-hmm.
doing all the going to the lunchroom together. After school was when I got to see him, and on the weekend, that's the only time that we got to hang out and be together. So we were together because we wanted to be together. School
Yes.
didn't put us together. God put us together.
Yes.
And we would spend days in my backyard trying to fix whatever, and then we'll go down to his junkyard. I called his backyard a junkyard because there was so many bike parts in there. And so somebody bike was broken, he'll fix it. And even a kid who didn't even have a bike, uh, Bob would literally put a bike together and go sit at his house.
Wow.
And these, I mean, think about that. This under 10 years old having that much just love in his heart. He'll
But
put a
he's
bike together.
amazing. He's amazing at
Amazing.
that age.
Yep. I mean, literally. And sometimes we didn't have the proper tools. I'm telling you. So he's like, go get me a butter knife. Like, what do you need a butter knife for? Go get me a butter knife. And then take the butter knife and bend it. And I didn't tell my mom he was bending butter knives, but bend the butter knife to fix something. It was just amazing. It was literally like, how in the world are you doing this?
But you see, God crossed y'all two paths. And that's
Yes.
like you never know God's plan and how he's going to introduce it to you. And
Right.
it was through this young fellow, your
Mm-hmm.
neighbor, and you all bonded. And then with the experience that you all had is where you got your revelation of your calling
Yes.
that you are doing today.
Absolutely.
That you are doing today. You are helping other people that need that help, that love,
Yes.
that understanding that a lot of people don't have. And you have what you call empathy, that true God given empathy for people.
Uh, Thank you. And and I don't see it any other way. And people, at work one time we say, you help these people, nobody want to help. And I was like, I don't see it any other way. You can't say it, you can't value one person more
Right,
than another person. You
right.
can't do that. You have to take us for who we are, from head to toe.
Yes,
And
yes. Put
mhm,
yourself in people's place and meet them where they are at. Because a lot of people want people to be where they at and
right.
not wanting to meet people where they're at. We're all at different places.
Right. Yeah. And you got to go first. So that somebody told me this, that you got to go first. Like you got to be able to say, "Hey, this is me, and this is what I'm about," and let them come to you. And
Yes.
you just once you tell somebody your story, they can feel comfortable telling you their story,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, and that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But like, okay, it's okay to be vulnerable. you know, and it's okay to say, hey, I'm just as different as you. So let's go ahead and get this done. Let's go ahead and make sure that you can get the classes in my world, get the classes you need and get the support you need. Because I always tell when I go to big rooms with
Mhm.
kids, I always say, listen, if I can graduate college, anybody in the world can graduate college. So let's get it done. I promise you that we're here to support you. Um, it's just something that I just feel it and see it. I just say, you know
Mhm.
what?
Mhm.
I want to come. I'm going to find a way to help you get to the finish line.
Mhm.
And even if it's not school, sometimes, I have a neighbor who's out here uh, bouncing the ball all the time, and I don't want to out him because he may listen to one day, we didn't tell anybody that, but um, every morning I say hello, every afternoon I say hello, and I don't know if he has any friends, but I make sure that when he sees me, he has at least one. You know.
But and you are a blessing to many. And we thank God for you. And here's the thing, I just wrote this article last week where I said, it's okay not to be okay. And that's what you are telling
Yes,
people.
absolutely.
When you reach out to them, you don't wait for them to reach out to you. You reach out to them and you make them feel special. You let them know that they are somebody, because
Yes,
we are all somebody in God's eyes. And
absolutely.
a lot of people may not see it that way, but thank God that there are people like you and people like me too, because my thing
Absolutely.
is everybody is important. Everybody
Yes.
has a role, everybody's different, and we just need to embrace, or we should embrace each other differences and celebrate each other.
Right. And we have to, because the people that are given the opportunity to find their magic and to find their superpower will change the world. It's everybody has a superpower, and it's just how we help them
Yes,
connect to their superpower.
yes, yes,
And once they do that, the world will change for everybody, because this one person found what their superpower was.
yes.
And so it's just, we have to be the ones to say to everyone, hey,
Mhm,
just extend a hand, or just extend a hello,
mhm.
and just, or sometimes just
Or
putting
a
your shoulder,
smile.
a smile. Yes, and putting your hand on somebody's shoulder, letting them feel your energy.
Yes.
It's just, well, it's amazing what it will do.
Or
Re-
listen, or just listen, because
Absolutely.
I'm an advocate about talking and people having someone to talk to.
Hmm.
Because they know that you care for them when you take the time to listen. Listen attentively to that person. Let them know that you're there for them, that you care for them, and that you will help them, however you can.
Absolutely.
That's very important. So yeah, so this is the story that I heard on your podcast
Hmm.
that really caught my attention. And we are going to continue with our conversation. This is just the first part of our conversation. We're going to really dive deeper into your podcast, what you're doing with the podcast, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, what are the things you're saying in your podcast to encourage people to tune in. And that's the key here. We want you guys to tune in.
That my podcast is designed just to help people get out of college loan debt. A large part of it is what we experience as folks, and having to borrow money to go to college, which is a good thing to go to college. There's nothing wrong with going to college, getting a degree, getting a job, taking care of your family. That's all positive stuff. But then when you're struggling to pay that debt back, at 8%, 7%,
Mhm.
um, and now it's taken away from you being able to pay for your kids to go to school because you're struggling to pay your debt back, or having to live in an apartment or a smaller house because your credit score is not strong because of your student loan debt. It has a adverse effect, that college degree, at that point, and we
One
don't
second.
want that.
So, friends, Remember to go to Greatest Jesus in Me YouTube channel, and you know what to do. Subscribe now. Yes.
Yes.
Tell them when.
Yes, you got to subscribe. That helps. And I really want to say, Jesus is real. And the power of forgiveness, the power of just being able to just give you the grace. And when you hear that, when you feel that calling or hear that calling, do your best to carry it out, because he put it on your heart for a reason.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't know what that reason is, but just make sure that you do your best to carry it out. It scares you. Sometimes it scares you, but he does it for a reason.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And I appreciate you being my special guest. As I said, we're going to continue with this conversation. So friends, be blessed, and until next time.